scenario that does not allow for any doubt in the literal interpretation of Revelation. John Hagee, a prominent Texas fundamentalist preacher and author, clearly has none. Armageddon is an actual battle, and the Antichrist is a living, breathing person. It is evident from statements such as these that fundamentalist preaching operates in the service of fear. Fear of the big battle to come, and fear of not belonging to the side of Jesus, so as to benefit from the 1,000 years of peace. Fear is all to these people, and every opportunity to spread it is taken. In January 2007, fundamentalist evangelist and former presidential contender Pat Robertson told his television audience that millions of people would die that year in a huge terrorist attack on the United States. He claimed that God had personally told him this, but added, rather as an afterthought, "I'm not saying necessarily nuclear. The law didn't say nuclear." Which is, of course, reassuring. Such an attitude is not so far away from that of the Islamic suicide bombers, who are sure that upon their deaths they will go straight to paradise to enjoy the favors of 72 young girls, favors they have missed out on in life due to their restrictive beliefs. This battle of Armageddon and the return of Christ is, according to thousands of Christian fundamentalist preachers, coming soon. In fact, many are convinced that our modern military involvement in the Middle East is linked to this fiery end. In the book of Revelation, Babylon is the source of all evil and is ultimately overthrown. Babylon, of course, is in Iraq, which has presently fallen to US forces and their allies. To Christian fundamentalists, the connection and the importance is obvious. But the Christian fundamentalists are not the only ones to believe in a final battle. Muslims, too, with increasing urgency, speak about the coming of their Messiah, the Mahdi, who, with the aid of Jesus, will fight against the demonic forces of the Dajjal, the Islamic Antichrist figure. Especially important is the belief held by many Muslims that the Mahdi will rule from Jerusalem, which the Muslims claim as their own. Muslims who follow these beliefs expect the final battle to come very soon, and this is affecting their politics, which, in turn, is affecting all of our lives. Jewish fundamentalists, by contrast, do not think of a battle to come, but it is hard to see how their end times can appear without one. For they hold that when the Messiah comes, he will rebuild the temple, referring to Solomon's temple, the very first temple, according to the Bible, to serve the ancient religion of the Israelites in Jerusalem, a temple that was pillaged and destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BC. And with the Messiah's coming, they hold that Jerusalem will be wholly Jewish. There will be no room on the Temple Mount for any Islamic structures, nor will there be room for the Islamic population within Jerusalem, indeed within all of Israel, which they define as stretching as far as western Iraq. They believe that the signs of the coming of the Messiah have already appeared. It will not be long now. The thousands of years of waiting are about to end. Of course, there are those who wish to hurry the time along and remove the mosques from the Temple Mount in advance of the Messiah's arrival. The anti-Islamic position of these groups is inflexible and runs very deeply. Their true relationship with Christianity is prickly and kept rather close, for they all depend upon the constant flow of funds donated to them by Christian supporters, but the tensions are there to see. For them, there is no need for compromise or tolerance. God gave Israel to the Jewish people, and that is all that needs to be said. At its heart, fundamentalism is a relentless progression deeper and deeper into intolerance and ignorance, which, unless opposed, will by default achieve its aims. Judged and measured against their own pronouncements, we must conclude that the fundamentalist religions of all denominations are opposing the free will and vibrancy of human life. They are, paradoxically, performing the very task they attribute to the feared Antichrist. They are attempting to convert a distorted view of reality into such a skillfully packaged shape that it might be taken as truth. Fundamentalist religions are humanity's greatest enemy. Blunt speaking, certainly, but time is short, and I see no reason not to call it as I see it. The fact we all have to face is that the fundamentalist religions leave no room for human frailty, for compassion, for forgiveness, or for creative freedom of thought. They are trying to return us to that time of darkness we thought was left far behind, where blind belief was considered more important than far-sighted discovery, where the dogmatic was more valued than the tolerant, and the false was more important than the true.